A Mortal's Journey to Immortality Episode 323. In the previous episode, the group was shaken when the fading soul of an ancient master revealed the truth behind the Spirit Ether Garden. While the Ghost Spirit sect hurried deeper into the icy valley, Han Li and Violet Spirit faced a strange disturbance. Her spirit beasts suddenly went mad as they crossed the frozen ravine. Curious and alert, Han Li tested his own creatures and found them unaffected, hinting at a hidden secret buried within the valley's depths. Relying on his own power, he split his spiritual consciousness into 1,000 strands, sending out his Gold Devouring Beetles to search the land. After enduring the loss of several strands, he finally traced the Ghost Spirit sect's path. He and Violet Spirit then raced across the frost-covered wilderness, arriving at a marked location tied to the Spirit Kindle Fruit, just as Han Li summoned the wind-riding chariot to pursue their targets at full speed. Violet Spirit hesitated, fearing the deadly spatial tears scattered throughout the valley. What will happen next? Stay tuned. And the story continues. I am only doing this because I am certain it will work. Han Li mysteriously smiled and continued. Could it be that Lady Violet Spirit doesn't want to take any risks for the Spirit Kindle Fruit? Violet Spirit's clear eyes flickered for a moment before she sweetly smiled and said, "According to what I know of you, Brother Han, you definitely wouldn't take any risks unless you were absolutely certain. It seems you have a secret technique that allows you to see through the invisible spatial tiers. As such, I will respectfully follow your suggestion." With that, Violet Spirit swiftly stepped onto the wind-riding chariot, her movements graceful and determined. Han Li glanced at her with a faint trace of surprise but offered no words. He commanded the chariot forward, and in the blink of an eye, it tore through the air in a streak of white light, flying through the vast, barren wasteland. Han Li's mind calculated the journey carefully. According to his predictions, it would take less than half a day of swift travel to catch up with the group of Ghost Spirit sect disciples ahead. Sure enough, as they approached, he saw Elder Zong's party entangled in unexpected trouble. A careless mistake by one of the disciples had triggered an ancient restriction, and they were preoccupied with attempting to free themselves from its effects. Using his powerful spiritual sense, Han Li observed them without leaving the slightest trace. Elder Zhang and the other cultivators could not detect his presence. He assessed the situation quickly. The spiritual chi fluctuations of the restriction were relatively weak, and given the mid-nascent soul stage of Elder Zhang, they would escape the trap soon enough. Yet this brief delay was an opportunity for Han Li to increase his lead and avoid any interference from the Ghost Spirit sect disciples. Steeling himself, Han Li urged the wind-riding chariot onward, carefully avoiding several invisible spatial tiers along the way. The chariot moved like a streak of lightning, leaving the struggling disciples far behind. Beside him, Violet Spirit watched the landscape shift rapidly, her heart fluttering with a mixture of excitement and apprehension. She knew Han Li was confident, but the sheer speed and precision of his navigation through this hazardous terrain was breathtaking. Even she, skilled as she was, could not have managed such a journey safely. After some time, the chariot arrived at a radiant emerald green mountain range. Han Li's eyes narrowed as he studied the terrain. It should be here. Do you see the mountain that resembles a flying bird? That is the sign, he indicated. Violet Spirit's voice quivered with excitement as she nodded, pointing out the mountains. Although she professed complete confidence in Han Li, a lump rose in her throat. Traveling at such extreme speeds while navigating perilous spatial anomalies was nerve-wracking. Yet Han Li had managed it without mishap. Han Li's mind was sharp, analyzing the final location carefully. The direction the bird-shaped mountain's beak pointed should lead to the desert where the final mark for the Spirit Kindle Fruit awaited. As Violet Spirit waited expectantly, she watched him ponder in silence. Hesitantly, she suggested, "Brother Han, will we not set out now? How about we destroy the mountain before we go?" Han Li responded thoughtfully. According to the Jade Slip, the final mark should be in a desert about 500 kilometers from this mountain. Even if we were to destroy the mountain, anyone who comes later could deduce the location from the fresh damage. To truly gain time, we must disguise it with an illusion formation, making the mountain appear completely ordinary. This way, the sign will remain hidden from prying eyes. Violet Spirit's brows lifted in surprise. But placing an illusion formation over an entire mountain, powerful enough to escape detection by a nascent soul cultivator, seems almost impossible. Are you skilled in illusion techniques as well? Han Li chuckled faintly. I am not, but I have someone who is. With a wave of his sleeve, a brilliant streak of white light shot outward, materializing a striking woman clad in white. Greetings, Master. She curtsied respectfully. Violet Spirit gasped in alarm. Staring at the newcomer, Han Li explained briefly. This is Silvermoon. Consider her a subordinate of mine. He gestured toward the mountain. Silvermoon, can you set up an illusion formation around the mountain quickly? Silvermoon nodded respectfully. With Master's tools and my techniques, it is possible, but my illusions alone cannot reliably escape the spiritual sense of a nascent soul cultivator. They also would not last long, only 2 days before fading. Han Li handed her 2 glowing sets of spell formation tools. That will be sufficient. Begin at once. 2 days will buy us enough time. Without hesitation, Silvermoon began her work. Meanwhile, Han Li's gaze returned to the bird-shaped mountain. His eyes glinted with a cold determination. With a flourish, he released a massive azure sword streak from his hand. It coiled around the mountain like a flooding dragon before roaring back to him. The mountain trembled and crumbled under the sheer force of his strike. The bird's head and wings collapsed into rubble, reshaping the mountain into an ordinary form. Violet Spirit watched in awe. Despite knowing of Han Li's fame, she had always been skeptical. Only recently entering the nascent soul stage, his reputation had spread far and wide. Now, witnessing his raw power, she could not deny the truth. The strength of this man was truly exceptional. As Silvermoon swiftly set the spell formation tools into position on the reshaped mountain, layers of white mist rose and began to cover it. Only the peak remained visible. She then ascended to the mountaintop and released a pink mist from her mouth, spreading it downward over the mountain. The mist disappeared almost instantly. Yet the effect was astonishing. The mountain and its surroundings warped and vanished, replaced by a verdant forest, leaving no hint of the mountain's prior form. Han Li nodded in quiet satisfaction. Meanwhile, thousands of kilometers away, Marquis Nanlong and Lu Weiying sat in a large underground hall, each in their own corner. They relentlessly commanded their magical treasures to strike a brilliantly shining barrier, whose light had begun to dim slightly under the repeated attacks. The Buddhist talisman characters floating on the barrier had grown from the size of grains to the size of fists, wandering solemnly over its surface. Outside the barrier, a white wind dragon, a golden streak, 2 blue water pythons, and a dark green ring continued their ceaseless strikes. Each impact caused the barrier to tremble faintly. Both Marquis Nanlong and Lu Weiying's faces had turned pale from the relentless exertion. They were consuming their vitality and magical power at alarming rates, forcing themselves to press on despite the heavy toll. They cursed inwardly at the durability of the Sanctuary Guardian formation, realizing that breaking it would require risking their lives. After an unknown duration of time, a tremendous explosion resounded throughout the hall. Lu Weiying leapt to his feet, shouting with delight, "It is broken! Broken! Finally! Our effort has borne fruit!" The golden barrier dissolved instantly, along with the talisman characters that had hovered around it. Marquis Nanlong's eyes gleamed with excitement at the sight, and he rejoiced just as much as Lu Weiying. Soon after, the two carefully examined the treasures and medicines that lay behind the barrier. Being both cunning and careful, neither of them immediately acted, their heartbeats quickening as they considered their next move. Marquis Nanlong and Lu Weiying stared at the table and their gazes unconsciously met. They both watched each other with vigilance. Although the two had been friends for years, in the face of such precious treasures, their friendship evaporated in an instant. Silence filled the vast underground hall, the only sound coming from the faint crackling of the barrier's remaining energy. Then, breaking the tense quiet, Lu Weiying chuckled lightly, a sound that carried both amusement and a trace of caution. "Brother Nanlong," he said smoothly, "we both know what the other is thinking. In the past, my cultivation was lower than yours, but you suffered significant damage during your expedition in the Molan Plains. Now, our strengths can be considered equal. With so many spiritual medicines before us, It would be unwise to fight over them. Let us divide them evenly and avoid mutual destruction. Marquis Nanlong's eyes flickered towards the most eye-catching treasure on the table. The flawless alms bowl. I agree with your reasoning, Brother Lu, he said, his voice calm but guarded. We will split the medicines evenly. I only wish to claim the alms bowl. You may take the other treasures. How does that sound? Lu Weiying hesitated for only a moment before nodding. The alms bowl? That is acceptable. My focus is on extending my lifespan and cultivation, not on treasures themselves. Marquis Nanlong allowed himself a slight smile, feeling a surge of satisfaction at how easily Lu Weiying had agreed to his terms. Yet, he remained cautious, scanning Lu Weiying carefully for any signs of deception. Sensing his scrutiny, Lu Weiying smiled faintly and teased. What is it, Brother Nanlong? Have you changed your mind? Am I to take the alms bowl instead? Marquis Nanlong let out a soft laugh. Brother Lu is joking, of course. Since you have agreed, we shall proceed. You take the 3 treasures and the jade talismans. I will take the alms bowl. And then we will distribute the spirit medicines evenly. Agreed? Yes, let us do as you say. Lu Weiying replied without hesitation. The two acted simultaneously. Lu Weiying waved his sleeve, sending a white mist that swept the 3 magical tools and numerous jade talismans into the air. At the same time, Marquis Nanlong opened his mouth and used a golden light to envelop the alms bowl, drawing it gently toward himself. Everything proceeded smoothly. The treasures and talismans floated obediently to their new owners. Marquis Nanlong's initial joy at holding the flawless alms bowl soon shifted to a careful calculation. He quickly slapped a yellow talisman onto its surface. Lu Weiying's eyes widened, alarm flashing across his features. Marquis Nanlong, what are you doing? He demanded. What am I doing? Marquis Nanlong asked, his voice steady yet resolute. Did you think I did not notice that the treasures and jade talismans were suppressing this alms bowl? I do not know exactly what it contains, but it must be a supreme ancient treasure, and what lies within must be formidable. I will not open it recklessly. I must be certain I can control it first. As he spoke, he swiftly placed 5 more talismans of varying colors onto the bowl in rapid succession. Lu Weiying quickly regained his composure. He said softly, a hint of tension in his voice. I did not expect you to misinterpret my concession. Let us divide the medicines swiftly and leave this place immediately. The longer we linger, the greater the danger. Marquis Nanlong snorted, undeterred. Very well, we shall evenly split the medicines. As for the remainder, we will select them one by one. Holding the alms bowl firmly, he extended his other hand toward the table. Instantly, a massive hand of golden light appeared, reaching for a heaven essence fruit. Lu Weiying's expression darkened. Without speaking, he summoned a hand of white light that grasped at a purple heavenmend mushroom nearby. But as the hands made contact, the fruits vanished, dissolving in brilliant light along with all the spirit medicines. Both men were stunned. The alms bowl in Marquis Nanlong's hand suddenly began flashing wildly. The talismans sealing it ignited and turned to ashes in pitch-black demonic flames. The flames spread outward, engulfing the remaining spirit medicines like wildfire. Marquis Nanlong's face paled in shock. He hastily produced a worn golden talisman from his hand and slapped it onto the alms bowl. But it was too late. The lid of the alms bowl exploded into the air, releasing an indistinct black light that shot directly toward Marquis Nanlong. At such close range, he could not evade it. The black light sank into his face, vanishing without a trace. A scream of agony tore from his throat as he violently smashed the alms bowl into the wall and fell to the floor. Clutching his head, the golden talisman slipped from his hand, clattering to the ground, while his face began to contort grotesquely. Lu Weiying's heart sank at the sight. Possession? He thought, fear gripping him. Without hesitation, he pointed toward Marquis Nanlong, summoning 2 blue halberds that shot forward with lethal speed. But Marquis Nanlong, now overtaken by the black light, lifted his head, revealing eyes glowing silver white, unfeeling and cold. The halberds struck his arm but were blocked with a metallic clang. His bare skin beneath the robes was exposed, the arm grotesquely transformed, glowing with black light, interwoven with purple-red tendons. and hardened unnaturally. Lu Weiying's eyes widened in shock. Despite Marquis Nanlong's mid-nascent soul-stage spiritual power, his body had been possessed almost instantly, undergoing a complete, terrifying transformation. This black light is no ordinary evil soul, Lu Weiying thought grimly. He flung his sleeve, summoning a white spell flag in one hand and a fire-red scarf in the other. Tossing the scarf forward, it formed a red barrier of light in front of him, attempting to stave off the demonic energy and alleviate some of the mounting panic. The vast yang scarf should be sufficient, he hoped, to block attacks from an evil soul. Marquis Nanlong's possessed body staggered to its feet but did not immediately attack. Instead, it lifted its arms, examining itself briefly, before throwing back its head and laughing monstrously. A laugh that echoed through the hall. "Ha ha, Kiki, after so many years, I have finally been freed. Let us see who can stop the rise of this sacred ancestor now. This world belongs to our holy realm." The words chilled Lu Weiying to the bone. Sacred ancestor? Holy realm? He thought, fear rising sharply in his chest. He remembered the spell formation he had placed outside the hall and immediately propelled himself in a brilliant white light toward the entrance, hoping to intervene. However, his relief was short-lived. A blurred silhouette appeared before him with a tremendous crash, the force of it reverberating through the vast yang scarf. Lu Weiying was thrown back deep into the hall, crashing against the wall like a rag, sinking nearly a meter into the stone. Though the light barrier protected him, his body went numb, and he momentarily lost control. At that moment, Lu Weiying clearly saw Marquis Nanlong's body standing at the hall's entrance. It coldly lowered its fist and smirked at him, causing his complexion to blanch. "Not bad, not bad, despite the fact that this devilified body is inferior to my original body. You must be quite the cultivator to withstand that blow. I will accept you as a blood sacrifice." A sinister voice echoed from the mouth of Marquis Nanlong's body, each word dripping with malice. The black energy swirling around his face thickened and coiled like living smoke, while his silver-white eyes locked onto Lu Weiying with icy precision, as if already confirming his death. A tremor of fear ran down Lu Weiying's spine. Without another word, Marquis Nanlong's possessed body blurred into motion, launching himself toward Lu Weiying with terrifying speed. Trails of afterimages marked his path, making it seem as though several versions of him were attacking at once. Panic surged in Lu Weiying's heart. He instinctively attempted to emerge from the wall for safety, but he had no time. The speed and strength of Marquis Nanlong's attack were overwhelming. Massive claws clad in black energy shot toward Lu Weiying's skull, each strike brimming with relentless force. Instinctively, Lu Weiying centered himself, summoning white light that poured all his magic power into his fire-red scarf. The barrier of light around him expanded rapidly, thickening to 6 inches. He braced as the claws stabbed into it, the sound of metal like cracks and sparks filling the air. The claws penetrated the barrier slightly but stopped without breaching his body entirely. Relief washed over him for a brief moment. Though it was fleeting, he immediately began channeling more light to attempt an escape from the wall. A cruel smirk spread across Marquis Nanlong's face. He smashed his other hand into the red light barrier with a deafening impact. To Lu Weiying's shock, much of the spirit light he had emitted instantly dispersed, leaving him vulnerable. Marquis Nanlong then grabbed Lu Weiying's arm and struck again with his free hand, causing the barrier to tremble and the remaining spirit light to scatter entirely. The wall seemed to swallow him deeper with every strike. Alarm flared in Lu Weiying's mind. He tried to activate his white spell flag to counter the attack, but Marquis Nanlong's relentless assault interrupted him continuously. Each punch struck just as he channeled spiritual energy into the flag, forcing him into helplessness. Tremors resonated through the stone wall, shaking him further. He attempted to use a secret technique, but half of his magical power vanished the moment he tried. Trapped and powerless, Lu Weiying could only watch in despair as the red light barrier around him dimmed. His heart pounded violently. He knew it was only a matter of time before the possessed Marquis Nanlong destroyed the barrier and crushed his body. Gritting his teeth, he made a desperate move. A blinding white light shot from his head, forming the panicked visage of his nascent soul. It clutched a small blue sword tightly as it emerged, while the vast yang scarf ruptured completely. The nascent soul, abandoning all hesitation, stamped its foot and blurred toward the hall's entrance, hoping to flee. But Marquis Nanlong had prepared for this. As if oblivious to the escape, his back suddenly burst open. A ghostly face emerged, identical to the one on the blood curse gate. Eyes still closed, the face opened its silver eyes and projected a long, purple streak from its mouth, a horrifying tongue that seemed almost alive. The nascent soul had just tossed its flying sword and was streaking away when the purple tongue shot forth. The nascent soul screamed as the strip pierced its forehead, burning its mind instantly. Its strength drained, and it collapsed motionless. Anyone witnessing this would have seen the purple tongue extend fully from the ghost face, piercing and immobilizing the nascent soul. The ghost face withdrew its tongue, drawing the lifeless nascent soul into its mouth. It chewed several times before swallowing, then closed its eyes slowly, a satisfied expression upon its ghastly features. Marquis Nanlong's body finally turned, expressionless, facing the masterless small blue sword. With cold efficiency, he reached out, tore the heart from Lu Weiying's body, and crushed it into bloody mist. Lu Weiying's body now lay completely lifeless. Having finished his gruesome work, Marquis Nanlong's possessed form transformed into black mist, effortlessly moving outside. In moments, he found himself above a mountain several hundred meters high. His appearance naturally triggered the Devilfall Valley's defensive restrictions. Bolts of lightning rained down, yet each deflected harmlessly 3 meters away from him, leaving him untouched. After observing his surroundings for half a day, his silver-white eyes narrowed. In a streak of black light, he tore through the sky, moving with calculated precision. Meanwhile, the ghost spirit sect master and his party stood before the giant altar, eyes wide at the seemingly endless flight of stairs that stretched before them. They had been delayed for nearly a day by a massive restriction over 5 kilometers away. Now that they were finally close, they could appreciate the grandeur of the altar, though the passage of time had left its marks. Weeds grew over the worn stairs, and several steps were completely eroded. Wang Tiansheng studied the altar intently before giving the order to climb. Go. When we reach the top, we will find traces of the Spirit Ether Garden. The entrance should be there. According to the Soul Remnant, he led the way up the stairs. Almost immediately, he cursed loudly. Yellow light flared around him, and the weight of the formation made his body feel half a ton heavier. The steps were laden with restrictions, designed to slow and punish anyone attempting the climb. Though Wei Wuya moved freely, the 3 core formation cultivators struggled, their faces pale as they exerted every ounce of effort to ascend. Slowly, painstakingly, the group climbed toward the top of the altar. Elsewhere, Han Li stood at the edge of a hidden oasis, gazing at the water. "This is the Spirit Kindle Fruit?" he muttered to himself, recognition flickering in his eyes. Violet Spirit, 3 meters away, nodded excitedly, her luminous eyes locked onto the oasis. At the center, a meter-tall stalk sprouted from the water, adorned with small, oval leaves. At the top, 4 unusual fruits glowed faintly red, slender at the top, wide at the bottom, resembling lit candles on stands. The scent wafting from them confirmed their authenticity. Han Li smiled in confirmation, feeling a surge of hope. Violet Spirit let out a deep sigh and turned decisively toward him. "I'm going to pick the fruits right now. It's best not to let matters drag on. There is no need to be so impatient. Since the plant has existed here for so many years, it is possible that there is something guarding it, or it would have already been consumed, even with the illusion formation protecting it." Despite his excitement, Han Li maintained a calm exterior as he spoke, his voice steady but filled with quiet calculation. Violet Spirit's eyes widened as she grasped the implication of his words. "Brother Han means to say that there could be an ancient beast guarding it?" she asked, her voice tinged with both alarm and curiosity. She had heard Han Li mention ancient beasts before, creatures so powerful and cunning that they could evade even the most sensitive spiritual senses. "That is right," Han Li confirmed, pointing toward the top of the tree where the Spirit Kindle Fruits grew. "Do you see those 2 snapped branches? 2 of the fruits have already been consumed. That indicates an ancient beast has been feeding on them. While the fruits in their raw form may not significantly boost a cultivator's realm, they can still help break through cultivation bottlenecks. That is likely why the remaining fruits have not yet been fully eaten. Violet Spirit nodded slowly, realizing that the danger was closer than she had anticipated. She understood that the creature would be hidden, likely lurking beneath the waters of the pond. Han Li, meanwhile, had removed the cloak from his head. He knew Violet Spirit had probably already deduced that he possessed the ability to avoid spatial tears after the incident with the wind-riding chariot. There was no need for further concealment. Han Li extended his spiritual sense across the pond, his glowing blue eyes piercing through the depths. After a moment, his expression shifted slightly, betraying a hint of unease. Violet Spirit noticed the change immediately. "What is it? Has Brother Han discovered something?" she asked. Han Li calmly turned toward her. "Step back. The ancient beast guarding the fruit seems troublesome. It will take some effort to deal with it," he said, his tone betraying the weight of his assessment. The fact that the creature could evade his spiritual sense had clearly left an impression. Understanding her limitations, Violet Spirit complied without hesitation. "Then I must thank Brother Han for his trouble," she said. Retreating 100 meters and hovering motionless in the air, her eyes still focused on the pond, Han Li's hands moved gracefully to his waist, producing 3 spirit beast pouches, which he tossed into the air. With a series of incantation gestures, tens of thousands of gold devouring beetles swarmed upward, blotting out the sun and filling the sky with a dazzling, oppressive golden light. The sheer magnitude of the insects sent a shiver down Violet Spirit's spine. She had witnessed Han Li use these beetles before, but never in such overwhelming numbers or with such ferocity. Without a word, Han Li arranged the beetles into a formation. 36 of his bamboo cloud swarm swords then shot out, fluttering like streaks of light among the swarm. With a series of precise spell seals, he multiplied each sword into over 100 brilliant images. He pointed toward the swarm and softly commanded, "Go." The sword lights shimmered, then subtly disappeared, leaving behind a fully established Aureate Sword Formation beneath the golden cloud of insects. Satisfied with the arrangement, Han Li's eyes hardened as he turned toward the lake. He raised his hands and summoned a fist-sized ball of golden lightning between his palms. In an instant, it expanded to the size of a bowl, crackling with immense energy. With a decisive push, he hurled it toward the lake. The moment the ball made contact, the water erupted in arcs of lightning, forming a 10-meter-wide whirlpool at the center of the pond. A muffled roar echoed from within the vortex as a black-white mist of demonic chi began to rise, concealing a strange, ancient beast. The creature was grotesque. Its soft, jet-black body stretched over 20 meters, covered with bumps and holes of varying sizes. At the center of its mass was a massive protrusion, resembling a head, but it bore only a single jet-black eye. It lacked any other sensory organs, not even a mouth or nose. Even Han Li felt a flicker of apprehension at the sight. Violet Spirit, watching from a distance, paled as chills ran down her spine. This was a beast unlike any Han Li had read of or encountered before. He glanced at Violet Spirit, but she could only offer a bitter smile. She had no insight either. Knowing the risks of prolonged engagement, Han Li resolved to act quickly. With a precise gesture, he struck the insect swarm with a spell seal. The buzzing intensified as the beetles condensed into a massive golden cloud, descending to envelop the ancient beast. The beast sensed the danger immediately. It expanded and contracted its body violently, spraying a strange green liquid from the holes in its flesh toward the golden cloud. The fishy scent of the liquid filled the air. Han Li's brow furrowed, but he quickly realized the substance had no effect on the gold devouring beetles. Unharmed, the insects pressed forward, swarming the beast and consuming the black-white demonic chi surrounding it. In desperation, the ancient creature submerged itself in the water, attempting to escape. Han Li anticipated this and summoned a walnut-sized blue fireball at his fingertip, launching it into the pond. Upon contact, the fireball exploded in blinding light, and icy blue chi spread across the lake, freezing it into a massive block of ice. The beast's escape route was cut off, and it bounced off the ice, panic rising. As it tried to flee toward the shore, Han Li's Aureate Sword Formation struck. A flicker of golden light severed a portion of its body, allowing countless beetles to swarm through the opening. The beast shrieked in agony, flames of demonic green igniting along its body in a futile attempt to repel the insects. The Gold Devouring Beetles ignored the flames entirely, devouring the beast with relentless ferocity. Han Li remained at the lakeside, arms behind his back, his gaze cold and unyielding as the Aureate Sword Formation prevented the creature from escaping. Over time, over half of the beast's body was consumed, and its final pained scream faded into silence as it collapsed onto the ice. Utterly defeated, the beast's true strength lay in its remarkable aura concealment, capable of hiding it even from late nascent soul cultivators. However, its battle capabilities were weak, and Han Li's bright sight spirit eyes had exposed it fully. Surrounded by the Gold Devouring Beetles and trapped by the Sword Formation, the ancient creature stood no chance. Once the battle ended, the insects dispersed into the air, leaving behind a black-white sphere, the beast's demon core. Violet Spirit flew closer, admiration clear in her gaze. "Brother Han, your abilities are truly profound. You killed the ancient beast with complete ease. The rumors of your prowess, on par with the 3 great heavenly south cultivators, seem to be true." Han Li shook his head modestly. "It is not that my abilities are exceptional," he said. "This beast was weak. It cannot compare to the ancient beasts I have faced before." He extended his hand, summoning the demon core. Han Li looked down at it and saw the sparkling black-white demon core. This was the first time he had seen a demon core with such colors and could not help but appear excited. With a more pressing matter at hand, Han Li knew it was not the time to research the demon core and put it away with a simple flip of his hand. His focus was immediately drawn to the Spirit Kindle Fruits they had just secured. Precious materials that required careful handling. He tossed out 3 of his empty spirit pouches into the air and directed the Gold Devouring Beetles. At his command, the insects screeched and split into 3 separate clouds, each returning to one of the spirit beast pouches with practiced precision. With the beetles safely stored, Han Li then commanded the 36 bamboo cloud swarm swords back into his sleeve, dissolving the Aureate Sword Formation that had surrounded the lake. "Let us go pick the fruit, and be quick about it," Han Li said, his tone brisk and commanding. "I do not know how long the illusion formation will delay the ghost spirit sect cultivators." Without waiting for further discussion, he streaked across the lake like a bolt of azure light, and Violet Spirit followed closely behind, mirroring his speed. Together, they arrived 6 meters above the Spirit Kindle fruit tree. Han Li's gaze swept across the plant, taking note of the remaining fruits. He then turned toward Violet Spirit and spoke carefully. "You go ahead and pick them first. But be cautious. These spirit fruits are peculiar. You will need to store them in wood attribute materials, or their medicinal power will dissipate within a few days." Violet Spirit's face brightened with excitement, but she maintained composure. "Many thanks for your warning, Brother Han. I will be careful," she said, forcing a calm smile. Without hesitation, she waved her sleeve and summoned a dark green wooden box into her hand. In a single swift motion, a streak of white light flashed, and one of the Spirit Kindle fruits disappeared, drawn effortlessly into the box. She closed the lid, placed the box safely in her storage pouch, and let out a long, contented sigh. Han Li was surprised to see that she only took 1 fruit. "What, will you not take another?" he asked, his tone a mix of curiosity and astonishment. Violet Spirit responded with a gentle, respectful smile. "Many thanks for your kindness, Brother Han, but 1 fruit is sufficient. Apart from the information I acquired, I have done little to find this place. It is due to your abilities that I am able to obtain this fruit. While I value our friendship, I cannot claim an equal share. You should take the remaining fruits, for they can be refined into nature origin pills and used to increase your cultivation." Han Li was taken aback. He had long known of Violet Spirit's reputation for beauty and intelligence, but her words revealed a restraint and maturity he had not expected. Her decision to forego greed for a worldly treasure was striking, and it caused his respect for her to deepen. He nodded, acknowledging her reasoning. "Since Violet Spirit has said this, I will not be polite, Han Li said. He slapped his storage pouch, and in a flash of white light, a wooden box appeared in his hand. He opened it, and a soft azure glow emanated from within. The 3 Spirit Kindle Fruits trembled slightly before being drawn into the box by the azure light. With the fruits safely stored, he turned to Violet Spirit. Let us go. We cannot linger here. We do not know how long it will be before the Ghost Spirit sect finds us. The pills must be refined quickly. Violet Spirit nodded thoughtfully. Of course, the fruits will not retain their potency for long. However, we cannot return the way we came, or we will encounter them. It may be better to select a direction and find a secret location a few thousand kilometers away to refine the pills. The choice of where, of course, will be up to you, Brother Han. Han Li considered her words carefully, frowning as he scanned the surrounding terrain. Suddenly, an idea struck him, and he reached into his storage pouch, producing a piece of worn, rough silk. It was the map of Devilfall Valley that he had acquired from the azure silkworm robes. He measured his surroundings against the crude markings on the map, and his expression shifted to one of surprise. The desert they were in was not far from a location marked on the map, a destination they could reach in approximately 2 days. Han Li grew pensive, considering the best course of action. Violet Spirit, sensing his contemplation, wisely chose to remain silent, allowing him the space to make a decision. Follow me, Han Li finally said. We will first refine the medicine pills before deciding anything further. With that, he put the map away and cast a final glance at the Spirit Kindle Fruit tree. A streak of azure light shot from his hand, severing a twig from the tree. As soon as it touched the ground, it withered instantly, turning to ash. A trace of sadness flickered across Han Li's eyes. The records were accurate. This tree was unique, a spirit root incapable of being moved. Any attempt would result in its immediate death. Without delay, Han Li released the wind-riding chariot. In a streak of light, he and Violet Spirit boarded, and the chariot surged through the sky, leaving only a white speck behind as they streaked across the landscape. His mind was already focused on refining the nature origin pills and then exploring the locations marked on the map. Given the mysterious nature of Devilfall Valley, any treasure the map revealed was likely extraordinary, and he intended to investigate, provided the dangers were not insurmountable. Approximately 2 hours later, the Ghost Spirit sect cultivators arrived at the oasis, only to find the lake frozen solid and the Spirit Kindle Fruit tree stripped of its precious fruits. Elder Zhang and the disciples exchanged worried glances, the disappointment clear on their faces. Meanwhile, Han Li had traveled over 500 kilometers toward the location marked on the map. Leaving the desert behind, they entered an area of green-yellow plateaus, each of varying height and shape. Han Li could not help but admire the diverse scenery. Devilfall Valley seemed to contain every type of terrain imaginable, as if the valley itself were a microcosm of the world. After half a day of flight, Han Li pressed the wind-riding chariot onward and eventually arrived at a mountainous region. The mountains were not particularly tall, and he traveled 100 kilometers deep into the range before stopping above a small, ordinary mountain. Han Li floated at low altitude beside the mountain and spoke to Violet Spirit. Fellow Taoist Violet Spirit, we have arrived. We will refine our pills separately. I have scanned the area with my spiritual sense, and there are no ancient restrictions or spatial tiers here. Violet Spirit smiled and replied, Many thanks, Brother Han. I will set off first. She flew to a nearby mountain, beginning to carve out a hidden cave residence to refine her pills in seclusion. Han Li returned to the wind-riding chariot, shrank it back into his sleeve with a gesture, and flew to a small mountain in front of him. Using tens of his flying swords, he carved a simple cave residence and established a small-scale spell formation outside its entrance. 8 core formation-grade puppets were stationed as guards, ensuring no surprises would interrupt his work. Satisfied with the preparations, Han Li entered a secluded room inside the cave. He summoned his storage pouch, spilling the various materials he had prepared for the nature origin pill into the air in a gentle white mist. The Spirit Kindle Fruits and a unique azure cauldron floated before him. Awaiting his attention, Han Li squinted thoughtfully at the cauldron, letting out a deep, steady breath before sitting down. though this was his first attempt at refining the nature origin pill. His prior mastery of pill refinement techniques, coupled with the extensive preparations he had made, gave him confidence. The multiple Spirit Kindle Fruits and abundant supplementary materials meant he could afford a few mistakes without consequence. He focused his gaze on the small cauldron twirling in front of him. Then, taking a deep breath, he opened his mouth and blew out a stream of nascent flame. It coiled once around the cauldron before entering its center and igniting it with roiling flames. In this episode, we saw Han Li and Violet Spirit face tremendous challenges in Devilfall Valley. Han Li first confronted a strange, ancient beast that had been guarding the Spirit Kindle Fruits for countless years. Using his brilliant strategy, combining the Gold Devouring Beetles, the Aureate Sword Formation, and elemental attacks, he successfully subdued the beast and obtained its demon core. Then, with the immediate danger handled, they carefully gathered the precious Spirit Kindle Fruits, making sure to store them in the proper wooden materials to preserve their medicinal power. Violet Spirit displayed her restraint and respect by taking only one fruit, leaving the rest for Han Li. Together, they set off to a hidden location several thousand kilometers away to refine the nature origin pills safely. Along the way, Han Li discovered diverse terrains within Devilfall Valley and prepared a secluded cave residence, complete with defensive spell formations and guardians, to ensure uninterrupted pill refinement. By the end, Han Li focused his full attention on the task at hand, igniting the cauldron with nascent flame, ready to begin the meticulous process of refining the extraordinary pills. What happens next? Stay tuned for the next episode of Immortal's journey to immortality. If you enjoyed this episode or found it exciting, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel to receive updates on the latest episodes of Han Li's journey. Thank you for watching, and we look forward to seeing you in the next video.